This is the story of how I cheated on my boyfriend with the person I actually loved. I loved him long before either of us had the courage to say it out loud. Maybe that was our first mistake. We hid behind jokes, long conversations at midnight, lingering touches that lasted a second too long. Everyone around us probably knew what we were before we did. Or maybe they knew what we refused to become. He was my best friend, the person I ran to first with every thought, every disaster, every tiny victory. And when we finally crossed the line between friendship and something else, it still wasn't real enough to survive daylight. We became this confusing, painful version of almost. Friends who acted like lovers when it was convenient. Lovers who pretended to be just friends when things got too serious. I kept waiting for him to choose me completely, but he never did. Not because he didn't love me. I know now that he did. Maybe too much. But love is strange when it's tangled up with fear, insecurity, and a mind that turns against itself. Some days he held on to me like I was the only thing keeping him alive. Other days he pushed me away before I had the chance to leave first. And I got tired. Tired of wondering what we were. Tired of feeling wanted in private but uncertain in public. Tired of building a relationship out of fragments and excuses. So when someone else came along, someone steady, someone who asked me out without hesitation, someone who made me feel chosen instead of guessed at, I said yes. I told my best friend I was seeing someone. I still remember the look on his face, like I had quietly reached into his chest and stolen something vital. But I softened the truth because I didn't want to hurt him more than necessary. I didn't tell him I was sleeping with this new person. I didn't tell him that every time I kissed someone else, part of me still belonged to him. And maybe that was crueler. Because even after I started dating someone new, I couldn't let him go. Or maybe he couldn't let me go. We were grieving each other before we had even ended. I kept hoping he would finally fight for me, finally say the words I had waited years to hear. Instead, we drifted through sadness and silence and unfinished conversations until one night I crossed a line I can never uncross. I cheated. Not with a stranger, with the person I loved most. People always imagine cheating as something cold or careless, but it wasn't. It was desperate. It was two broken people reaching for each other because losing each other felt unbearable. For a few hours, I got to pretend everything was the way I always wanted it to be. Then reality came for us. He found out I was truly dating someone seriously after going through my phone. Even now, I don't know what hurt more, the invasion itself or what he discovered. Something inside him shattered. One moment he was apologizing, crying, telling me he loved me. The next he was threatening to hurt himself, threatening to destroy me, calling me names I still hear in my head when I can't sleep. I watched the person who knew me best become someone I didn't recognize. And still, part of me understood his pain. I called the man I was dating and confessed enough for him to leave me. He sounded heartbroken but calm, like someone stepping carefully away from a fire before it burns him too. At the time, I cried harder over losing the relationship that was stable than over losing the person I actually loved. I didn't understand it then. Maybe because I thought my best friend and I would survive anything. We always had before. But some damage doesn't look permanent until the silence starts. He told me everything would be okay. Then he disappeared from my life completely. No dramatic goodbye, no final conversation. Just absence. Messages unanswered, calls ignored. A person who once knew every corner of me, deciding I no longer existed. That was the part that destroyed me. Not the cheating, not the breakup, not even the screaming and threats. It was realizing that the one person I thought would always come back had finally chosen not to. The guilt stayed for years. Not just guilt over what I did, but guilt over how badly we failed each other. We loved each other in the worst possible way, deeply, honestly, and without the emotional tools to survive it. For a long time, I carried the wreckage everywhere. I replayed every decision like changing the ending in my head could somehow undo reality. If I had waited longer, if I had been honest sooner, if he had fought harder, if we had loved each other better instead of just harder. But heartbreak doesn't care about intentions. Sometimes two people can love each other completely and still leave scars that never fully heal.